Hey guys, I was looking for a recording of this last part of the chapter and I could not find it, so I'm just going to make it myself. Um, if you were not reading with me yesterday, then you might not be at the same spot, but for those of you that were, we are at 15% slash 131 to 132. I also just realized that I think on this computer that I'm recording on, the text is a little bit smaller, so um, the page numbers and percentages might be off from what you have because of the text size. So bear with me. So we are starting here because when we left off, um, Liesel had tried to start reading in front of the class and was embarrassed, and everyone's laughing at her but Rudy. So we're going to start right here. In the break, she was taunted. A boy named Ludwig Schmeickel came up to her with a book. Hey, Liesel, he said to her, I'm having trouble with this word. Could you read it for me? He laughed, a 10-year-old smugness laughter. You dumpf, you idiot. Clouds were filling in now, big and clumsy, and more kids were calling out to her, watching her seethe. Don't listen to them, Rudy advised. Easy for you to say. You're not the stupid one. Nearing the end of the break, the tally of comments stood at 19. By the 20th, she snapped. It was Schmickel, back for more. Come on, Liesel. He stuck the book under her nose. Help me out, will you? Liesel helped him out all right. She stood up and took the book from him, and as he smiled over his shoulder at some kids, he threw it away and kicked she threw it away and kicked him as hard I can't see this as hard as she could in the vicinity of the groin. Well, you might imagine, Ludwig Schmickel certainly buckled, and on the way down, he was punched in the ear. When he landed, he was set upon. When he was set upon, he was slapped and clawed and obliterated by a girl who was utterly consumed with rage. His skin was so warm and soft. Her knuckles and fingernails were so frighteningly tough, despite their smallness. You sacro! Her voice, too, was able to scratch him. You Arschloch! Can you spell Arschloch for me? Oh, how the clouds stumbled in and assembled stupidly in the sky. Great obese clouds, dark and plump, bumping into each other, apologizing, moving on and finding room. Children were there, quick as kids gravitating toward a fight. A stew of arms and legs, of shouts and cheers grew thicker around them. They were watching Liesel Memminger give Ludwig Schmeichel the hiding of a lifetime. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, a girl commented with a shriek. She's going to kill him. Liesel did not kill him, but she came close. In fact, probably the only thing that stopped her was the twitchingly pathetic, grinning face of Tommy Mueller. Still crowded with adrenaline, Liesel caught sight of him smiling with such absurdity that she dragged him down and started beating him up as well. What are you doing? He wailed. And only then, after the third or fourth slap and a trickle of bright blood from his nose, did she stop. On her knees, she sucked in the air and listened to the groans beneath her. She watched the whirlpool of faces left and right, and she announced, I'm not stupid. No one argued. It was only when everyone moved back inside and Sister Maria saw the state of Ludwig Schmickel that the fight resumed. First, it was Rudy and a few others who bore the brunt of the suspicion. They were always at each other. Hands, each boy was ordered, but every pair was clean. I don't believe this, the sister muttered. It can't be. Because sure enough, when Liesel stepped forward to show her hands, Ludwig Schmeichel was all over them, rusting by the moment. She means she sees the blood. The corridor, she stated for the second time that day. For the second time that hour, actually. This time, it was not a small Weischen. It was not an average one. This time, it was the mother of all corridor Weichens, one sting of the stick after another, so that Liesel would barely be able to sit down for a week. And there was no laughter from the room. More, the silent fear of listening in. At the end of the school day, Liesel walked home with Rudy and the other Steiner children. Nearing Himmel Street, in a hurry of thoughts, a culmination of misery swept over her. The failed recital of the Gravedigger's Handbook, the demolition of her family, her nightmares, the humiliation of the day, and she crouched in the gutter and wept. It all led here. Rudy stood there next to her. It began to rain nice and hard. Kurt Steiner called out, but neither of them moved. One sat painfully now, among the falling chunks of rain, and the other stood next to her, waiting. Why did he have to die? She asked. But still, Rudy did nothing. He said nothing. When finally she finished and stood herself up, he put his arm around her, best buddy style, and they walked on. There was no request for a kiss. Nothing like that. You can love Rudy for that if you like. Just don't kick me in the eggs. That's what he was thinking. But he didn't tell Liesel that. It was nearly 4 years later that he offered the information. For now, Rudy and Liesel made their way onto Himmel Street in the rain. He was the crazy one who had painted himself black and defeated the world. She was the book thief without words. Trust me, though, the words were on their way, and when they arrived, Liesel would hold them in her hands, like the clouds, and she would bring them out like the rain. We'll talk about that tomorrow. So we're going to continue with part 2, The Shoulder Shrug, featuring, so this is all the little mini stories that are within part 2. A Girl Made of Darkness, The Joy of Cigarettes, A Town Walker, Some Dead Letters, Hitler's Birthday, 100% Pure German Sweat, The Gates of Thievery, and A Book of Fire. So we're going to start A Girl Made of Darkness. Some statistical information. First stolen book, January 13th, 1939. Second stolen book, April 20th, 1940. Duration between said stolen books, 463 days. If you were being flippant about it, you'd say that all it took was a little bit of fire, really, and some human shouting to go with it. You'd say that was all Liesel Meminger needed to apprehend her second stolen book, even if it smoked in her hands, even if it lit her ribs. The problem, however, is this. There is no time to be flippant. So right now, I'm kind of wondering, you might be too, what does this word flippant mean? I've heard it before, so let's really quickly define it. So according to this, if I can get my screen out of the way, flippant means not showing a serious or respectful attitude. Got it. So there's no time to be joking around. It's no time to be half watching, turning around, or checking the stove. Because when the book thief stole her second book, not only were there many factors involved in her hunger to do so, but the act of stealing it triggered the crux of what was to come. It would provide her with a venue for continued book thievery. It would inspire Hans Huberman to come up with a plan to help the Jewish fist fighter. And it would show me, once again, the one opportunity leads directly to another, just as risk leads to more risk, life to more life, and death to more death. Interesting. In a way, it was destiny. You see, people may tell you that Nazi Germany was built on anti-Semitism, a somewhat overzealous leader, and a nation of hate-fed bigots, but it would have all come to nothing had the Germans not loved one particular activity: to burn. The Germans loved to burn things: shops, synagogues, Reichstags, houses, personal items, slain people, and of course, books. They enjoyed a good book burning, all right, which gave people who were partial to books the opportunity to get their hands on certain publications that they otherwise wouldn't have. One person who was that way inclined, as we know, was a thin-boned girl named Liesel Meminger. She may have waited 463 days, but it was worth it. At the end of an afternoon that had contained much excitement, much beautiful evil, one blood-soaked ankle, and a slap from a trusted hand, Liesel Meminger attained her second success story, The Shoulder Shrug. It was a blue book with red writing engraved on the cover, and there was a small picture of a cuckoo bird under the title, also red. When she looked back, Liesel was not ashamed to have stolen it. On the contrary, it was pride that more resembled that small pool of felt something in her stomach. I'm going to reread that sentence because that was a little confusing. On the contrary, it was pride that more resembled that small pool of felt something in her stomach. Still a little confused by that. So I guess she's feeling pride in her stomach that she stole it. Okay, sorry, that was very confusing. And it was anger and dark hatred that had fueled her desire to steal it. Ooh, anger and dark hatred. In fact, on April 20th, the Fuhrer's birthday, when she snatched the book from beneath a steaming heap of ashes, Liesel was a girl made of darkness. The question, of course, should be why? What was there to be angry about? What had happened in the past 4 or 5 months to culminate in such a feeling? In short, the answer traveled from Himmel Street to the Fjord to the unfindable location of her real mother and back again. Like most misery, it started with apparent happiness. All right. So this actually didn't take quite as long as I suspected, and that's okay. You earned a little break if you got to this point. So please, please, please just make sure that when we come together tomorrow, you are ready to start The Joy of Cigarettes, or sorry, A Girl Made of Darkness. We just finished. Um, oh, just kidding. I guess we just finished A Girl Made of Darkness. So be sure that you're ready to start The Joy of Cigarettes. When we talk, when we talk tomorrow, I'm gonna ask you 2 questions. So be ready to tell me why this chapter that we finished at the start of this time together is called the heavyweight champion of the schoolyard. You should know that by now. Heavyweight champion again is like a boxer, the winner. And for our second one, this one here, be ready to just kind of tell me a brief summary, 1 sentence about what happened in it. It's a pretty short chapter, so be ready to just tell me about that. Don't leave the Zoom yet if you're done. Make sure you fill out that book summary. Let's see if I can get it pulled up here. It might not pull up. It probably won't pull up. It's not going to pull up. But if you go to Google Classroom, it is going to be in Win, obviously, and it will be the second to top assignment for you, or it's going to be under book club, the little topic on the right hand side or the left hand side. All right, friends, lovely reading with you again, and we'll talk tomorrow. If I can figure out how to stop my recording. There it is.